Yo, you're listening to Everyday Superpower, where we talk body language, we talk game, we talk communication as a whole, we talk attraction and repulsion, right? There's two links in the description of this video. One of the links is going to take you to a YouTube playlist. That playlist is going to consist of videos that I have compiled of my own material that'll teach you the ins and outs of learning how to read body language to a T. Okay? Second link is observing with me real dates in real time, attraction cues, repulsion cues. You'll be able to internalize and reapply through your day-to-day observations what I teach you, and it'll never leave you. Honestly, it will never leave you. That's the real game. It's a Patreon link. It's down there in the description. Now let's move on. We're talking about approach today. We're talking about getting better at communicating with people, getting better at attracting women. This is going to link in with cold approaching, which I generally don't advise on this channel purely because I don't think it's the optimal game for your general person, and it's not the optimal way in, you know, making relations with the women you're interested in. Because it comes across very easily as predatory, and it's just very hard to pull off. Now, let me give you a background in regards to my experience doing it. I got no problem. Um, I learned a lot of non-verbal game through selling products to strangers in the city centre, like completely cold. I'd approach people, women primarily, because they tend to be swayed and persuaded a little more easier than the men. And why the hell not? I'd much rather speak to a woman than a man. So I went over, I'd engage, I'd pick up the energy, the atmosphere, that either sell a product or I wouldn't. You know what I mean? So I know what sells and what to identify in what sells and what doesn't, right? But we're not going to talk that non-verbal cue today. What we're going to talk about is just this game of becoming better at communicating. So let me have a look at the note I've made in regards to what I was clearly. One moment. So I've noted down as far as what I'm going to talk about today is how to learn how to speak to strangers, learn how to disarm and read your communications in real time. Right, cool. So what I mean by disarming is when you go and speak to a stranger, their defense is going to be at, 80%, and you have to jump up that wall, cling on to the top of that 80% and drag that wall down slowly and surely down to them being comfortable and exposed to you in that comfortable space, all right? I did a video in regards to looking at the world through the woman's eyes, and through the woman's eyes, she lives in a world as to where you, the man, could physically harm her with ease. You are a giant to her in the physical flesh, and her survival mechanism is going to be on high alert, more so than if a stranger approaches you as a man. So please understand that. Okay? So when you approach to someone, understand that you will get some degree of negative cue. Now, if it's anger, if it's, you know, contempt, and any sort of shocked, repulsed body language, finish off what you're doing. I mean, you can hang around for a second, but if that doesn't necessarily digress and move onwards, it's probably your time to cut that off and don't overstay your welcome. Whereas, generally, if you do it right and if you approach not as a creep, not as a pickup artist, but more so just as a person who wants to say hello and introduce yourself, even though you're not going to jump into introducing yourself, you're going to have them introduce themselves because it's all about them. You put the spotlight on them, right? Then you might be met with shock, surprise, defense as a mechanism as far as a stranger's just come up and started talking to me is concerned, but not so much as a defense in the means of, right, I'm scared, I'm triggered. That's not going to be the case. Now, as you initiate this and start this very well easily might be the case. You don't know what's going through someone's mind. You don't know who somebody is. You don't know how you portray yourself or how you're perceived by this person. You might look like their ex-boyfriend who was a violent person. You don't know. So in that, I say don't take it to heart, don't take it personally. But when you approach someone, and I don't necessarily mean you go and walk, across a train station platform where it's just you two purely to do this. I'm saying I say you end up sitting next to somebody in a cafe, all right, in a bar or something, and in a perfect world, it would have been her who sat herself next to you, all right. So already she's chosen that you're not so intimidated or scary or creepy that she has to stay away. She's chosen to sit there next to you, so you can turn around and say, "Hey, what's good?" And initially, their ears will prick up, and considering you've been so direct, they'll turn around to look at you to see if it was you. But initially, they might be a little bit confused because people don't generally, at least where I'm living in England, people aren't that inquisitive or that forward in their communications. People are, quite talkless, in all honesty, especially as far as strangers are concerned. So you're approaching not in a means as to where you're trying to be a pickup artist and you're trying the cold approach in the sense that you want to leave with anybody's number or so on and so forth. You're genuinely just approaching people through the lens of wanting to get to know them and wanting to learn how to lubricate your communication, technicality, and skill. This is really it. I mean, when we go in with an intention, it's just so problematic in the sense that you will come across as robotic and you won't come across as natural. And we as human beings have been in enough conversations and spoken to enough people to be completely perceptive in that realm, especially a woman who has got her let's be fair, she's got binoculars on when she's looking at you as a man. She can read you like a book, she can read me like a book. So when we go there out of interest, and don't get me wrong, it'll get to a degree where you can approach things in a manner as to where you are clearly indicating interest, but she's going to be more than content with that because you're not overt and you're not excessive and you're not heavy with things and you're not so direct that you're knocking the head off of her shoulders. You see where I'm coming from? So let's talk about something that happens all the time. At least more so when you get started. You'll approach someone, you'll start talking to them, and then they'll bring up their boyfriend or their partner, even when it was irrelevant to do so. Okay, it's a clear signal that they are not interested. They're doing it with purpose to say, "I'm taken, stop." Yeah? Whereas when you continue doing this, you'll start to come across as a person who is just genuine and fun and great to engage with and different from the others because you're not approaching it in that particular manner. Now, don't get me wrong. You might want to have a little bit of summer and guess what? So does she, right? And that's why she's not telling you about her boyfriend, all right? Because she's not pushing you away. Even you might have diffused her in the form of being, a what word should we use? Essentially, you've diffused her through the means of being a comfortable person and a relaxed person to be around. Now, you might make her feel a little anxious in due time, but initially speaking, you have created this comfort within her where these seeds can be planted from both parties. And you can slowly err the conversation and the undercurrent of the conversation in a direction as to which blooms romance, blooms attraction, blooms lust, blooms everything in between, alright? And you've been in a 5 minute conversation talking to her about this, that, and the third, and you know so much about her now. She knows relatively little about you because you're this mysterious man who has shown incredible interest in her. She feels delightful. She feels like a queen, like a princess. She's interested in you. She's engaging with you. Your body language is incredible because you know the A to B of body language. Her body language is open and receptive, such as her mind. And you've not heard one mention about this boyfriend because she's hiding him from you because you seem like a better suitor. Because her boyfriend won't go around with the cojones to be doing stuff like this. This is the degree as to where you will get and need to get, and it's not easy whatsoever. So I'm not saying run around trying to speak to people because you'll come across as desperate and random, and it's not right. But when a woman is around your space, in your place, and you feel like there's a possibility you can talk, you should do it. Don't want to take it too far into pickup artist realm, but they speak on the 5 second rule. Meaning, if you are going to make that decision in speaking with the woman, do it within 5 seconds. And I understand why, because you have to enter that action with the boldness, such as a law of power, Robert Greene wrote, enter action with boldness. But me personally, in my personal experience, I don't think, I don't think it matters that much. I don't think it matters that much. Let's take it back to the coffee shop situation. If a woman's come down and sat next to me and I'm doing my work, I could completely ignore her for a minute, 2 minutes, and she'll feel comfortable as the fact that I've not gone out of my way to alert her of the fact I see her. I'm not going to gaze at her because women know that. Of course, they know that. Their peripheral vision picks up on that. Their heightened senses picks up on that. They know you're staring at her. Duh. So if you've not acted on that way and you've not given her the power of being, put in this pedestal by you, by giving her this wealth of attention, she might feel a little interested in you. And so when you spark up conversation 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes in and say, hey, you all right? Like I said, she might seem a little bit shocked initially. You'll see the light bulb, flash bulb eyes, the deer in the headlight eyes. Momentarily, she might, you know, gaze at you in a manner to state what is coming next. Why are you talking to me? But when you just hit her with a simple question and she responds, and then you respond to that with a simple, friendly response, them walls come straight down because she's not used to that. She's not expecting that. And if anything, it's actually quite pleasing that someone is interested in her and gone out of their way to do what people should do, and that people should interact with each other. People should show care with each other. People should be comfortable with each other. But we have this wall, this fear, this anxiety of approaching people because they're not familiar to us. So let's quickly take some time to, well, I don't think you can quickly take some time. Let's take some time to get to know each other and become familiar with each other. And we can find each other where we stand in these things. And then you can move on to the next person. You don't have to get no number. You don't have to tell you like. You don't have to say she's pretty. You don't have to say nothing. You can just get to know her and then say, okay, nice meeting you. Have a lovely day. See you later. You don't have to take a name, no nothing. You move on. Do you know how fluent you're going to become in communication and attraction and seduction by enacting and engaging with general people, reading them and analyzing the patterns and how they react to you, and how you can subtle your engagement to ensure that you don't come across as too one way or the other. This is the real game. Hit like for this. Hit subscribe for this. I'm signing out. I'll see you next time. Peace.